Section 1 of Step 1. The Call in Silence. Definition. Desire is the moment when a person stops accepting what is. Not a dream, not a goal, not a whim, but an inner impulse that appears between boredom and honesty. It arises not in action, but in silence, when you first clearly see that you are not living the way you want to. In Japan, this moment is called mushi no hibiki, the echo of emptiness. It is not inspiration, but the awareness of misalignment. Silence suddenly stops being comfortable because in it, you finally hear yourself. Story. At the beginning of the last century, in the village of Sakai, there lived a carpenter named Yoshivero. He repaired doors and built small houses. His work was neat but unremarkable. Each day he repeated the same cycle, measuring, cutting, sanding. He didn't complain or rejoice. He simply did his job. One winter, he worked at an old temple. The monks asked him to replace the rotten beams, and as usual, he completed the task. On the third day, the abbot called him and said, "You work cleanly, but your hands are empty. There is no spirit in them." Those words struck Yoshivero harder than a blow. That night, he couldn't sleep. He replayed every movement of his hands. He realized he no longer felt the wood. He was only processing material, not living it. His hands had become lifeless because his mind was silent in the wrong way, not focused, but indifferent. From then on, every morning before work, he sat by the river, silently touching pieces of wood with his palms. He didn't pray or meditate, he listened to how the material behaved. After a few weeks, he noticed he was cutting differently, more smoothly, more confidently. He wasn't chasing profit, but the orders increased. A year later, he was invited to build the gates for a new temple. The same abbot approached him and said, "Now I can hear the breath in your hands." Desire returned to him not as ambition, but as respect for his craft. He understood true desire is not the urge to have more, but the inability to do less than you can.
Explanation. When a person lives mechanically, their attention scatters. Thoughts circle around small tasks and the mind loses connection with what it all serves. Desire does not arise until one confronts inner emptiness. That encounter is painful, but it purifies. Desire doesn't come from external triggers. Motivational speeches and quotes create brief excitement, but don't start true movement. Only the personal feeling of, "I can't live like this anymore," releases the energy of change. In Japanese work philosophy, they say, when the hand stops feeling, the mind must pause. When the mind pauses, the heart awakens. That's how desire is born, as the heart's response to silence, in which everything becomes too clear. It doesn't ask or persuade, it demands. And if a person is honest, they cannot help but answer. Desire acts like a magnet. Once it's recognized, everything around begins to rearrange itself. People, circumstances, even coincidences seem to align with the new direction. Not because the world helps, but because your focus becomes sharp as a blade. You start seeing only what leads where you need to go. If you ignore that call, inner tension grows. It shows up as apathy, irritation, fatigue. You think you've lost energy, but in truth, you're simply not using it for its purpose. Desire demands an outlet. If you don't channel it into action, it begins to destroy from within. Why it cannot be otherwise. No one can live long without personal meaning. You can make the body work, you can maintain discipline, but if there's no living direction inside, strength fades. That's why desire is not a luxury, it's a biological need of consciousness. Trying to live without desire is like rowing without water. The boat will move, but only until the first wind. In Japanese culture, desire is not seen as weakness. It's considered a form of respect for life. A person without desire does not honor what they've been given. It's as if they tell the world, "I need nothing," and the world replies, "Then you'll receive nothing." Practice. Sit in silence, not to meditate, but to hear your irritation. Think about where in your life you feel confined. Don't search for dreams, look for what creates inner resistance. That is the beginning of desire. Write one sentence starting with, "I no longer want to live like this when..." This sentence will be your mirror. Don't rush to turn it into goals or plans. Simply observe how thoughts and actions begin to gather around it. Desire will show you where to go. The key is not to drown it out with explanations. It speaks quietly, but more precisely than anything else.
You seek meaning in words, yet it has always lived in silence. Desire doesn't come from dreams, it's born the moment you honestly admit, "I don't want to live like this." That's where awakening begins. Subscribe if you too want to finally wake up and feel that awakening. Believe me, that alone will already be a big step for today. You've just listened to the first section of the first step, one link in a single chain. The next steps and sections will soon appear on this channel. I understand, the material is deep and not easy. And trust me, I'd love to go deeper into its essence and explain every word. But that would take much more of your time. So let's make a deal. If you want a live stream with a full, detailed breakdown of this section, write it in the comments. Literally say, "I want to go deeper into this section." If the video gets enough comments, there will definitely be a full analysis. Now let your thoughts rest for a while, but return often to the meaning that was planted in this part of the book. See you in the next section.